Thank you again for helping me bring Adrian to the castle.
But of course, miss. Is there anything else I can do for you?
No, not at the moment.
Then I'll come over again tomorrow. Have a nice day.
See you. As long as Adrian's still asleep, I should let the Archbishop know about the current state of affairs. Your Grace, this is Prioress Antolini. There were complications. The exorcism failed. No, I don't think that was the reason. Yes, but that only makes sense if the demon is unknown. Correct, Your Grace. We underestimated his strength. Father Frederick is dead. He was thrown across the room, and Okay. No, the Guardian is doing well considering the circumstances. Yes, Your Grace, I understand. I also think that the location is crucial. The Guardian had an image of Pictish glyphs with him, the same as those engraved on the Shade portal. That's exactly where the demon must be forced back. Yes, into the Black Mirror. It'll be no problem to get there. The demon itself tries to force its way to the mirror. It's drawn to it like a magnet. He won't cause us any problems until then. On the contrary, Guardian and demon will be hard to keep apart. Yes, that's the other side of the coin. But, Your Grace, the man is probably the only one who can fulfill this task. Yes. Is there an alternative to exorcism? Of course, I'll do that. All right then. First, I have to find the entrance to the catacombs under the castle. A chapel is mentioned in the records, which is found down there. That's where I guess the Black Mirror is. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Your Grace. Thank you. Good. As long as Adrian is still asleep, I can start looking for a way in. Most secret passageways in old walls have the characteristic of not being sealed completely airtight. That could help me. The Gordon family tree. Many of the Guardians were women. Isabella, Emily, Rosa. But also Marcus Gordon, Albert, and Durham. There are records on them in the Vatican Library. The floor of the library is higher than the rest of the rooms on the ground floor. Perhaps the secret entrance is hidden under it. Or maybe just old-fashioned underfloor heating. Mainly lexicons and biographies about British lords. I found the book about the Guardians here. A mighty pillar. The wooden cladding is decorated with carvings. There's only English literature here. Shakespeare, etc. I've already read them all. The entrance to the catacombs used to be under the foundation stone, but Marcus had it sealed off. Now it's only a cellar down there. I once saw such a huge globe in the museum in Moscow. It was also made of metal. I remember that Australia was only half depicted on it, because they hadn't yet mapped it out completely when they made it. I was almost killed by a ceiling beam during the first inspection with the workmen. That's why there are supports in here. The source of the fire was here in the kitchen. The room up there was the butler's room, I think. The entrance to the catacombs. I'm sure there's wine stored in these barrels. A dustpan and brush. These are clearly too small for the current condition of the castle. Creepy darkness. That reminds me of something very unpleasant from my childhood in the convent. The wine barrels have been empty for decades. The last generation of Gordons were tea drinkers. The sewer system under the castle couldn't deal with all that firefighting water. 3 weeks ago, the water in the cellar was still up to my knees. It'll be months before anyone will be able to access the sewer system without diving equipment. Can't get any further here. The corner's just a last resting place for junk. The well seems to be dry. A water pump. The workmen brought it with them to pump out the cellar. This was actually only rented for a week. That's the main switch for the cellar. The electricity has been switched off completely for safety reasons. The Gordon file from the Vatican archives. The last entry is from 1923. It notes the handing over of the guardian position to Victoria Gordon. Right at the front of the file is a copy of a letter from Marcus Gordon. In it, he says that the entrance to the Shade Portal is sealed with an altar. The underground chapel was consecrated and prevents the Shades from entering the catacombs. The Bible gave me much strength when I needed it. I think everyone should read it at least once. Matches. They're from a... It's for an emergency. In case... Yeah, well, Mordred attacks me. Matches. They're from a cafe in London where I met the Archbishop a few days ago. Victoria's jewelry casket. There's a kind of secret compartment on the bottom side, but I can't open it. Adrenaline. It's usually administered intravenously and ensures that the cardiovascular system works again within seconds. The wonderful cutlery didn't survive the fire very well. I've stored the remains in boxes upstairs. Paintings tell a lot about the period in which they were painted. Fortunately, these ones weren't too badly damaged by the fire. When I first came here, this room wasn't being used. I've had everything that's still usable brought into here. Adrian is still asleep. Lady Victoria was always very vigilant when I was in the room. I hardly had the chance to have a look around. Well, she'd understand now. The image of a beautiful woman. I'm thinking that must be Maria. I completely forgot about the machines. As soon as all of this is over, I'll have them picked up. Just a minute. There's a syringe here with adrenaline in it. I'll take it with me just in case of an emergency. Victoria's dressing room. The only area in this room I could have a look at. But in vain, though. There really are only clothes here. Those are all things that were close to Victoria's heart. But there's nothing of interest to me there, though. There's only jewelry in here. 2 necklaces, a pair of earrings, and rings. It's all silver and stylish. Huh. The jewelry case weighs at least 5 kilos. And what is that? There's some kind of flap on the underside. But how do I open it? I can't see any keyhole or anything like that. I'll show it to Adrian as soon as he's awake. Perhaps he knows something about it. Even though she was really ill in her final days, she still set great store in keeping a well-groomed appearance. Adrian is still... The entrance to the catacombs must be in the castle. I wanted the rabble to be stored in the hall, so that the kids that sometimes meet outside the castle don't injure themselves. But I didn't think it would be so much. I don't see any way to get rid of this door. There are only Victoria's papers here. Bank statements, bills, and so on. They're of no use. Black mold. According to Greg, it was caused by the extinguishing water, which offers an excellent breeding ground for molds once it's soaked into the walls. A statue of the Virgin Mary. She was venerated for her humility and her firm belief in God. Greg was going to repair the grandfather clock, but he never got around to it. A plain marble pedestal. I almost like it more than the sculpture on it. I didn't even like horses when I was a little girl. I prefer small animals. The flame is burning uniformly. The floor of the library is higher than the rest of the rooms on the ground floor. Perhaps the secret entrance is hidden under it. Very well. The flame flickers here. There's a draft. And this room has no windows. I guess there's a cavity behind or in the pillar. But how do I get at it? Why didn't I think of that sooner? This plate can be removed. There's a metal wall behind it. And there's a strangely shaped hole in it too. A keyhole, I guess. The hole is the shape of a cogwheel. A normal key definitely doesn't fit in here. Adrian, how are you doing?
Hungover. What happened?
You suddenly lost consciousness during the exorcism.
Did it work? Is Mordred gone? What about my eyes? Are they still black?
Your eyes are normal again, at least for the moment. But I'm afraid that it won't stay like that for long.
I guessed as much. Why am I in the castle? I thought it wasn't safe here.
That's true, but I had no other choice. Edward helped me bring you here.
Edward? And where is Father Frederick?
He's still in the church. We're going back to him later. There were a few complications.
So, it didn't work?
Unfortunately not. It doesn't seem Mordred can be cast out with prayers alone.
Strange. It always seems to work in the movies.
Maybe it was the wrong script.
The Bible. Yeah.
Father Frederick is out of it. Mordred's power was too much for him. We'll have to be quick if we're going to save you.
What are we waiting for then? I feel almost good. At least I'm ready for the final spurt.
I have another idea of how we can get rid of Mordred. But for that, we must go to the Black Mirror, where the curse began.
Where everything began. Victoria told me exactly that, shortly before she died. I should go to where everything began, but I've got no idea where that is and how to get there.
I found something interesting in the library. I think it's some kind of secret door to the catacombs.
A secret door in the library? Let me guess. It's locked, right? And you've got no idea how to open it.
I was hoping you could help me.
Why not? I haven't got anything else planned. Valentina.
Yes.
The room in which Mordred crossed over into me. Do you know anything about it?
What kind of room is it?
A kind of ritual chamber. Skulls everywhere, a throne.
They investigated a ritual chamber in the old academy, but all the records were lost in a fire around 1512. And the knowledge of it was lost in the process as well. So no, I know even less about it than you do.
So what actually is this Black Mirror then?
We think it's a kind of portal.
And where does it lead?
Nobody knows exactly, and it's a dangerous thing to investigate. Mordred tried, but the Black Mirror enslaved them. Pope Innocent III believed it might lead to the destruction of Christianity. What we know for sure is that it's older than anything else on Earth.
I thought it might have been built by pagan druids or something like that.
It's much older than that. The Druids used it for ceremonies, yes, but they definitely didn't build it. It's been there since the dawning of time, so they say.
Holy crap. So what is it then?
We can only speculate. The mirror attracts evil, or how should I put it? Absorbs it. According to the old Druidic scriptures, there were regular human sacrifices. Apparently, the altar table in front of the Black Mirror portal was already drenched in century-old blood back then. The souls of the sacrifices are drawn into the mirror, but only if they're absolutely evil. The soul of a good person cannot enter the mirror. It seems to be something like... yes, like...
The gateway to hell, perhaps?
yes. And no, not just the gate, but the mirror too. Glancing into it reveals the innermost self. It reflects the soul for everyone to see.
I wonder what the Pope would see if he looked into it. And all the dignitaries of the world. No wonder the entrance has to be guarded. But times have changed. Why don't we just have a look at the thing? Purely scientifically, I mean.
Evil can also break out of the mirror. Its effect is unbound. You can feel its power yourself. Who's ever susceptible is enticed into evil. That's why life in the castle is so dangerous. It's right within its sphere. Mordred was changed. The spark of evil that always smoldered within him was fanned into a blazing fire. He did everything he could to open the portal. Rumors suggest that he almost found the mechanism.
Someone's leaving me messages describing the virtues of a guardian. You don't happen to know anything about that, do you?
I wrote them. They were tests to see if you could become the next guardian in spite of the curse. I had assumed that apart from Victoria, there was only Angelina, but she was nowhere to be found. There was no time. Victoria lay on her deathbed. She was the last guardian. It had to be settled. When we heard that you were maintaining that you were a Gordon and were also innocent of any crime, then the Vatican changed its plan. We had to assure ourselves that you were still of pure heart, and you passed all the tests.
But you weren't there.
True. I wasn't there.
All right, Miss Undercover.
Adrian?
Hmm?
Have you got any idea how to open this? I mean the secret compartment on the bottom. Seems to be a very complicated mechanism. Yes, of course, there's that way too. A golden sword hilt from Victoria's jewelry casket. It's decorated with 4 gemstones, probably rubies. There's a 5th socket there too, but it seems there's a stone missing. The sword hilt fits perfectly, but nothing happens.
Valentina,
Yes.
I think we still need something here for the sword hilt to work.
It's not working. You think that's because of the missing gemstone?
Could be possible. The question is, where is this stone? Could be anywhere. Could have been lost hundreds of years ago.
I don't think so. If the key had been broken for a long time, why did Victoria hide it? No. I think the stone is missing intentionally, as an added safeguard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but where should we start looking?
Did Victoria give you anything before she died? An heirloom, jewelry, a signet ring?
Not to me, but Angelina.
What?
Her bracelet, she showed it to me. Yes, I remember well. There were rubies on it, too. Perhaps we need one of them?
And where is the bracelet now?
The police evidence locker.
Then get it. We don't have much time.
Strange. It's never been so quiet here before.
Adrian! It's done. Case closed. Angelina's letter convinced the judge completely.
Some good news.
A lot more than that. And is there anything I can do for you?
Now with the case closed, all of the pieces of evidence are no longer required, right?
In theory, not anymore, no.
Then it wouldn't be a problem if I got the bracelet back. You do know that it's a family heirloom.
I'll see what I can do.
Thanks.
Zach!
Hmm?
Please.
How's it looking with your transfer?
Now that's lying on my boss's desk. And knowing him like I do, he's gonna let me stew for a while. But it'll come through sooner or later.
Goodbye.
Fare thee well, my lord.
Huh? The telephone booth is locked? So what? Do people make too many calls in the night? The pub's closed. The owner's on the run. The bracelet is an old family heirloom. It's made of silver and is decorated with rubies. Valentina.
Yes.
Here, it was really easy.
Those really are the same stones. Now we just need to break one out without damaging it.
A whole load of photos of my family, with a grave candle in front of them. And then what have we got here? A pair of pliers. I'll take those and the candle. I don't need the other stuff right now. One ruby's enough.
The ruby fits exactly into the socket on the hilt of the sword. There's nothing to discuss with Adrian right now.
There's a spiral staircase here. I can't see how far down it goes. It has to be a good few stories. Ladies first.
Are you scared? Or are you exercising your role as Lord of the Manor?
The Guardian isn't allowed to die. Those were your words. I'm just playing it safe. That that's supposed to be the catacombs? Looks like the sewer system.
Patience. This is just the beginning. That's most strange. What are Pictish glyphs doing here on English medieval walls? The house in connection with an amphora. That could mean a store. Amphoras were used back then like barrels are today. An earlier version of a torch, and I've never seen this symbol before. A bird usually represents the death of a person, and we've got the head which fits with this, from whoever. The fish is the symbol for the first day after a new moon. With a hand, though, that doesn't make sense. The chain comes out of the shaft and disappears into the water. A swimming pool for cellar ghosts? I don't understand why that's supposed to be here. There's standing water throughout the whole drainage system. Maybe the outflow's blocked somewhere. Adrian? These symbols look like Pictish glyphs. Obviously an ancient form of writing, more than 6,000 years old. So, I'm wondering what business have they got being on these walls?
Maybe one of my ancestors thought they looked nice? Do you know what they mean?
Sort of. But don't ask me how you vocalize them. Looks like we're in a dead-end street.
But it can't be, though. It has to continue somewhere. Maybe there's another secret passage.
Certainly not out of the question. Keep your eyes open.
There are hieroglyphics etched all around here. Did the Druids build these walls? A bird? Here's an illustration of a house and a jar. Here's a pitchfork and a flower. There's a bird and a head chiseled in here. There's a fish and a hand on this column. In this environment, there can only be a whirlpool. Huh, the water's been standing there for some time. I reckon that's the remains of the water from putting out the fire. At any rate, it's not normal sewage. The whole thing could be some kind of cistern. It collects rainwater from all over the castle. It's brought here and then goes stagnant. No, there has to be an outflow somewhere as well. I think that's supposed to be a house or a shack. A bird relief. A hefty chain. It's hanging into the water. I wouldn't know what I might ask. I won't be able to see a thing down there. I should get myself some light first. A candle for the dead. Empty. I'm guessing that they used to store wine or beer here back in the day. Those days are long gone, though. There's a thick electric cable hanging from the roof, just above a puddle of water. Craig was right. It isn't safe down here. I need more light. A construction light, just like the ones all around the castle, except without any power. There are no power sockets down here. So now I've got the option to connect something up down there. A construction light. Here's the end of the extension cable. Energy. Boxes of empty wine bottles. Just in case there's a life for me after Mordred, I'm gonna give this castle a real cleanup and throw it all of this old junk. Well, I'll hand the job over to Edward, of course. A shelf of wine bottles. As far as I can tell, they're all still full. 1953. Either extremely valuable or completely disgusting. There are only busted boxes and barrels back there. I guess that's the main switch for the electricity in the cellar. Who needs fuses if you've got such a big lever? Cellars are often used as the last resting place for all sorts of heavy junk. And it's no different in British castles. At first glance, there's nothing useful leaping out at me here. At the second one, too. Must be a seriously heavy water bucket if you need a chain like that to lift it. I don't think that the pump will suck up a metal chain. That's the water pump, which they use to pump away the extinguishing water. It's a real monster, and ancient, too. I'm surprised that thing even works. I think that's the power connection for the water pump. I guess there were no power plugs back then. That's just one pole. Does this thing use direct current? So I wonder where you attach the other pole. The wire rope is wrapped tightly around the pipe. I guess it's an earth for the water pump. Or is it the second pole? I'll put the cable into the connecting terminal on the pump. No idea what kind of pipes those are. Water or sewage, I guess. Quite a clear design. The motor's on the right, the pump device is on the left. The two are connected with a long shaft. The innards of a water pump. There are two huge water basins here. They must go back to when they had no running water. There are metal grates lying around the well. No idea what they're for. There are metal grates. The electricity is on. I should be careful where I step and what I touch. The electricity is off again. There are drains under the puddles, but the sewer system couldn't cope with the huge volume of extinguishing water. The water isn't draining away anymore. If it weren't for me being a former student of physics, I'd call that kind of action suicide. Now, the end of the cable's hanging directly in the water. The power cable is now hanging through the grill and straight into the water. The electricity is on. I should be careful where I step and what I touch. You can turn the pump on and off with that. You can even adjust the direction of rotation and the speed. Theoretically, I could pump the cellar full of water again, slowly or quickly. The innards of a water pump. The construction works, but there's not much electricity getting to it. The water doesn't conduct very well. If I wrap the chain around the drive shaft, I could use the water pump as a winch. I hope the motor's powerful enough. The construction works, but there's not much. I'll tie the rope to the column here and let it down the shaft. Valentina! Can you hear me?
Yes.
The bucket is half full of a white salt, probably for when it's icy. I'll take a handful of grit salt with me, just in case I have to help some old grandma cross an icy street. The electricity is off. I'll give the pepper and chilies a miss. The puddle's seasoned enough. The electricity is on. I should be careful where I step and what I touch. I can't wind the chain anymore. Something's blocked.
What are you up to? I'm impressed.
Damn. And I thought I'd pulled the plug out of the bath. What the heck's a cage doing down here in the middle of the catacombs? Good to know. I could lock up unwelcome visitors in here.
It really would have been better to have taken a hotel room.
Valentina,
Yes.
what do you think's going on with this cage?
I don't think that's a cage in the usual sense.
How come? Isn't it a wonderful torture device, especially with the water?
Oh, right. So that's your interpretation of a normal cage usage.
Don't forget, I'm being possessed by an 800-year-old tyrant. I've hung the rope into the well.
What are you thinking of doing with the rope?
When I pull on it, you turn on the winch up there and let me down. When I'm running out of air down there, I'll pull again and you winch me back up.
I think I can manage that. I'll wait on Adrian's signal.
Okay, hold your breath. That was close. It's just getting better and better here.
Adrian? Adrian! Is everything all right?
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm okay. Just a little touch and go, that's all.
Is everything really? Wow. I've never seen anything like this. Isn't that just so impressive?
Well, I'm so glad you like my humble wine cellar. A stone coffin, I'm thinking. A rusty helmet. Somebody probably lost it. There's something different about this tablet. There's only one of these reliefs here. A whole load of symbols. Fish, crown, no idea, bones, and so on. A strange death's head with a huge mouth? No idea what that's supposed to be. 7 people standing around the place. Oh no, 3 of them are lying down. Are they sleeping or are they dead? There are 6 long chains hanging against the wall, running from floor to ceiling, and then they disappear into holes. And there are some kind of capsules hanging on the chains.
What are you doing?
I'm opening the coffin?
Have you ever heard of rest in peace?
What? When there could be something inside that's vital to our mission?
I just don't think this is right. Not one bit.
I can't get the lid open any further, but it's moved enough to see inside. Pretty damn dusty. There's not much left of the corpse. There's a weird disc thing lying among the bones.
That looks like a round shield a warrior might use.
There's a rusty broken sword lying on the ground here. No idea how that could have got here.
Forged by an expert hand. Simple, precise, and deadly.
Adrian, what have you got there?
Regrettable that the passing of time has taken its toll on such a fine weapon. It's no more than a rusty bar of steel. Yet the hilt has lasted well. I will.
Adrian,
What?
what's happening to you?
I've no idea. I must have blacked out. I'm back now. Looks like an offering dish to me. Oops. Ginormous statue of a guy with a sword, without a head. Could that be Mordred? Something sticking out of the dust. A piece of jewelry, shaped like a fish. There are only a few bones in here, nothing else. It seems to continue here. Valentina, you coming?
Wait,
Yeah?
You see that there?
Yeah. Those aren't hieroglyphics.
That's Latin. Your ancestors must have written that.
And what does it say exactly?
A warning. Beware, guardians of the shades. They will take possession of your soul as soon as you venture into the dark.
Shades? Is that some kind of metaphor?
No, I don't think so. In the Book of Guardians, it said that Marcus had to battle through an army of shades that his brother had summoned out from the mirror.
Makes sense. First Mordred, now Shades. Well, my soul's not gonna get bored, that's for sure. There's a small boat here. I'm so close to where I want to be. Why should I turn around? There's an arrowhead in here. Still looks pretty good. I'm gonna take that with me. Now that's what I call a door. Solid stone with iron bands and 6 locks. Now that's what I call a door. Hieroglyphic after hieroglyphic, as far as the eye can see. A hole the size of a hand. No idea how deep it is. What's that? A map?
Yes, it could be a map of this place.
Valentina,
Yes.
looks like someone scratched their memoirs on the wall.
The hieroglyphics on the wall seem to be describing certain things which were dangerous for them back in those days.
Bread being important I can get. But a bone?
No, I don't mean each symbol on its own, but a row of symbols describes a person, for example.
So like, bread would belong to a baker then?
Yes, but it can also describe other people. Bread was baked by bakers, sold by traders, and also then eaten at some point.
Does it say how you get the door open as well?
Right now, I don't see any connection.
A couple of sticks of dynamite could come in handy right now.
I doubt it. It has to be the case that only people of pure heart can go further down. Dynamite is a somewhat brutal option. There's nothing to discuss with Adrian right now. The hieroglyphics have lasted well. I wish I had time to examine them more closely. Perhaps when all of this is over. I've never seen a statue like that before. Could the Gordons have put it there? Or is it much older? This place would be an archaeologist's dream. That looks like a drawbridge mechanism, or something like that. That's an offering dish. So this statue is probably a representation of a pre-Christian god. A very strange depiction. What can it mean? Ah, I'm sure that represents the Black Mirror. The death's head is symbolic of death. 7 people, all a little different. Could they perhaps represent different societal groups from their time back then? 3 people are lying down, 4 are standing. In the middle, there's an altar chiseled in. I don't know all the symbols, but they seem to be describing something. At least it looks like they've been divided into 7 groups. Perhaps each of the symbol sequences describes one of the people on the upper half. I see. The Gordons seem to take their guardian duties very seriously. You're not going to get past this door all too easily. There's no going back. We have to find the Black Mirror. A helmet like the Crusaders wore in the 13th century. I'd love to know who lost this one here.
This is one proper labyrinth. Where now? Straight ahead or to the right?
Did you see that? In the room ahead.
What is that?
No idea, but it's moving.
Is that one of those shades?
Whatever it is, we shouldn't get too close to it. Be a good idea to close the door.
Huh? How did you know that the switch was the right one?
I didn't. That's what you call putting your faith in God.
I can feel something dark in this room. I need Valentina's help for that.
Richly decorated stone sarcophaguses. You'd probably only have highly respected people buried in these. But I don't see either a name or crests here. No noble Gordon would have themselves buried without them. So, that means there probably isn't a Gordon lying here.
Dust, bones, and a crown. That has to be a king's grave.
Or a thief's. One that stole a king's crown.
A little crown. But it's heavy. Very heavy for its size. I need Valentina's help.
Richly decorated stone sarcophaguses, but I don't see either. No noble Gordon would have themselves buried without them. So that means they're probably.
Nothing. The coffin's empty. There's only dust in here, though in a weird-shaped staff.
Looks like it could be like the ones that the bishops carry, or shepherds.
Ugh, the whole niche is full of human skulls. Well, not quite. Here's a bowl, rather nicely decorated. Now all the capsules are hanging level. Something tells me that the keys in there have to be the right ones. Now that's what I call a door. The locks are all undone. We ought to be able to open the door now. The guy with no head again. This time, ×4. Did somebody not like him all that much? Mordred, baby? He went round with his sword going chomp, chomp, chomp. Walls full of skulls. Who were these dead people and where are their bones? Did someone just take their heads? How come? And why are all the statues headless? Is there a connection? The closer we come to the truth, the more questions seem to come up. Highway to hell. Damn, the route is crumbling. I hope it's gonna hold out for a bit. That goes a hell of a long way down. This light reminds me of the cavern under the stone circle. Could there be a huge cave system under Willow Creek?
I think we've reached the chapel.
I almost feel like I've come home here.
No, this chapel was built by Marcus and Mordred. It was their last cooperative work. It really is a sacred place.
But Mordred used it for his own dark purposes.
I doubt that.
A skeleton.
Those are Maria's remains, Mordred's wife.
How do you know that?
That's a female skeleton. And you can see the sword tip in her ribcage. It broke off when Mordred murdered his wife.
You're right. A stone coffin with a skeleton in it.
If we were to believe the Book of the Guardians, that was once Mordred.
Hey, Mordred, how does it feel to be looking into your own grave?
Huh, you two are getting closer. Please excuse me.
Mordred's grave. The purest preaching platform. But for what kind of an audience? Nobody was supposed to find their way here. Everything's very weird. There's a whole bunch of hieroglyphics on the altar.
There's a sentence in Latin chiseled here. It means, at sunrise, the king sent his warriors into battle against the darkness. Unusual for an altar engraving.
Is that any use to us?
I don't know. Perhaps.
Maybe Valentina can take a look at it. Valentina,
Yes.
you know what's weird? There's light everywhere down here. Even burning candles.
Everything seems to be rather unearthly.
Especially with all the lights.
It could be that they come on when a certain door is open. But when was the mechanism for that installed? And by whom?
Or we're not the only ones who are wandering about down here.
Whatever the case, we still haven't reached our goal. Marcus thought that the way to the Black Mirror had been closed forever with the chapel.
But he hadn't reckoned with the genius of his brother.
Are you starting to admire Mordred?
Just take a look around. The castle up there suddenly seems tiny compared to all this down here. It's so imposing and overwhelming even. Kinda majestic. The vaulted roof is just awesome, don't you think?
I don't think we should waste too much time hanging around. There's nothing to do. The passage probably used to lead up to the altar. Marcus Gordon did a great job. He wanted to use this great bulwark of an altar to properly seal up all the spirits his brother summoned. But Mordred had left himself a back door. It says here, at sunrise, the king sent his warriors into battle against the darkness.
Didn't we see a crown earlier?
And a round shield. The symbols are the same as those in the first chamber. It says here, at sunrise, the king sent his warriors into battle against the darkness. The symbols.
Wow. This passage is full of rubble.
We're definitely not in the catacombs anymore. This looks more like an alchemy laboratory.
I've been here before.
Mordred?
No, as a child. I've got a kind of faint memory of it.
Have a look around. Perhaps it'll come back to you more strongly.
Yeah. That's it. That's the hole that Angelina fell into as a child. I climbed in after her, but it's blocked up now. No wonder I couldn't find it up on the surface.
And how did you two get back out of there? Through the catacombs?
No. Bates. Oh, it was him. He got us out and then filled in the hole. But before that, we were at the portal. We were standing right in front of it. It's behind this door.
Had Angelina opened it?
I'm not sure anymore. There are water basins everywhere here. Mordred must have been a bit of a clean freak. Those are really nasty-looking gargoyles. Worse than those fiendish things from the academy. That's a depiction of a soul key. A lector. What kind of a book is that? Monoculus pater omnis thelesmi tortius? No idea. All in Latin. Valentina,
Yes.
have you got any idea what all this machinery and stuff down here is for?
That's a perfectly equipped alchemy laboratory. Mordred was a man of science.
He's certainly not going to be able to help me with my physics studies. Alchemists were only bothered about creating gold.
That's not correct. There were definitely alchemists who worked on other things too.
Oh yeah, opening demon gates. I'd forgotten.
They also tried to concoct healing potions, or the opposites, poisons.
They were definitely more successful at the latter. Aw, Mordred's tea kettle. How cute. Ruler of the underworld or not, 5 o'clock was tea time. Oh, maybe there are some 800-year-old homemade cookies here too. Whoa, a real witch's kitchen. Mordred would definitely have ended up being burned at the stake sooner or later. Whoa. Prima materia, planet metals, basilisk. Welcome to Discworld. So, how did Angelina just get in that time? That definitely must have looked nicer way back when, but it's very solidly built. If it had been damper down here, then the beams would have rotted away ages ago.
These are the best blades in the land, forged by the most skillful of smiths. Much too good for those butchers that my brother calls soldiers.
Adrian, you're scaring me. Please, put that away.
And yet, they're nothing compared to my sword.
Adrian, stop it!
Huh? What?
It's all right. Everything's okay. Just put the sword down and then everything will be fine. From now on, we'll have to watch out you don't pick up a sword again, okay? You're not going to go near a sword again, Adrian. Do you understand? We don't want you having an accident or anything, do we?
Okay, Sister Valentina. Is there a reason you're talking to me like some kind of wacko?
None. Apart from the fact that you look like one and are behaving like one. Your eyes have turned black again, and you're fiddling about with a sword, and you're speaking like Mordred. Now then, please do us both a favor and keep your fingers away from sharp-edged weapons.
Great. Even more tea kettles. Oh, a real witch's kitchen.
The book is open at the homunculus chapter. Is that a coincidence, or was Mordred busy creating an artificial life? Strange. Interesting stonemasonry. The faces are supported by hands. A stove. The shaft once led outside, so there was a shortcut then. That's not ordinary soil. Looks like there's tar mixed in with it. Somebody wanted to be sure. They must have the Tabula Smardina here, the fundamental text for alchemy. Ecco. Here it is. The Smardina tablet, the alchemist's Bible. But I'd better not touch the book. It would fall apart at the smallest touch, like nearly everything here. I don't like secret doors. The beams don't seem to be weight-bearing elements. But what are they for then? Perhaps they had damp cloth stretched across them, because of the smoke that would always be coming from the alchemy experiments. A considerable sword collection. Mordred must have been quite a weapons appassionato. A really fine alchemy laboratory. There's virtually everything there that they used to use back then. But I doubt that Mordred was interested in creating gold. The flasks point rather more to him being a blender of poisons. A sublimation vessel for using in Athenor, a special alchemist's oven. I've never seen such a good one before. Bellissima. Even more cupels and serpentines. This is where Mordred mixed his recipes. There's nothing. Hacked out to the stone wall and filled with groundwater. Ought to be drinkable. Only the lighting makes me a little suspicious. Could represent a scepter. A considerable. A really fine alchemy laboratory. There's virtually everything there that they used to use back then. But I doubt that Mordred was interested in creating gold. The flasks point rather more to him being a blender of poisons.
Valentina,
Yes.
are you gonna let me take a look at your dagger?
What? No, definitely not.
I think I know how to open the door. It's quite simple.
All right then. I hope you know what you're doing. What are you doing there?
There was a door in the academy. It could only be opened with the blood of a Gordon. My blood. When I wanted to help Angelina as a child back then, I cut myself. That's why I was able to open the door.
Gordon blood. One further reason why only you can be the guardian. Let me go first.
Why?
I don't know what might happen when Mordred sees its beloved mirror again. Think about that thing with the swords.
Okay. Okay.
The reflection shows your soul, and the part of Mordred that's within you.
Mordred? But why does he look like one of these shades?
Mordred's soul is still trapped behind the mirror. What you have in you is the shade of Mordred's soul. We somehow got to send Mordred's soul back into the Black Mirror, and do that without setting it free.
Okay, but how then? Haven't we just had an exorcism that went all wrong?
No, not an exorcism. We need something else. Are you sure there's nothing in Mordred's book you've overlooked?
Yeah, absolutely. I can show it to you if you want. These pages. There's some writing appearing. That must be Mordred's notes. But how come there's something there all of a sudden?
The mirror must have activated it, maybe?
If you believe my ancestors, it's possible that the soul leaves the mirror if the shade is already bound in this world. A reunion of soul and shade would constitute an unimaginable power potential. The soul belonging to the powerful and feared by all King Armundor is exactly the right one for my son to be made into, and what he would have become if my brother had not blah blah. The guy definitely would have benefited from a few sessions with Dr. Winterbottom. But hold it, there's something else here. Everything is prepared. Armundor's bones lie upon the altar. His shade will soon be bound to them. Nothing more stands in the way of the crossing over of his soul. Now all that has to happen is for the boy to be freed from the yoke of his contaminated soul. Soul transfer. Mordred's soul shade in me. Yes, of course. That's his plan. He's lured me here so that his ritual can be completed, and his soul can cross over into my body. That's exactly what the curse has been for.
Only Mordred hadn't reckoned with his soul shade landing in a guardian's body. That's the only reason you've held out for so long.
But that doesn't help us all that much. If we release this shade that's inside me, Mordred's soul will then enter me.
Shh, Adrian. I think I got an idea. Let me think about it for a minute. Adrian's reflection is a mix of his own soul and Mordred's soul shade. I don't have any better way of describing it. There's absolutely no way Adrian's soul can be allowed to lose the struggle against Mordred's shade. But what is on the other side? Only Mordred's soul? Or has Adrian got one of those soul shades as well? Adrian, can you read me the section about the shades from the Book of the Guardians, please?
The ancients' graves are watched over by their shades. Their fate has been thus for thousands of years now, with no end ever envisaged. They were born in death, and it is death they wish to spread. The ancients forced them into our world. Thus, they don't belong here. They can be neither caught nor appeased. However, the light from the green flame unsettles them. It drives them into the darkness. One should not come too close to them there. Their power is old, very old.
A shade is created in every case when somebody dies, but not in this world, but behind the mirror. I know from the Vatican files that there were human sacrifices here in order to see if their souls were good or evil. The same sort of idea as witchcraft. Mordred wrote that a soul could leave the mirror if its shade was already bound here, which is exactly the case here now. So, if Adrian were to die here, then Mordred would win. Adrian's soul would have been freed from eternity, and his body would take on Mordred's soul. But we have to get Mordred's soul shade out of Adrian one way or another. We absolutely have to make sure Mordred's actual soul can't leave the mirror. And Adrian's soul has to stay where it is.
Sounds right.
There's nothing to this.
I'm able to see in my mind everything that happened on this altar. Having Mordred in your head eclipses any horror film, and I don't feel any revulsion. None at all. If Valentina doesn't come up with something soon, he's won. No, I have to pull myself together, or else all of our efforts are going to be in vain. Those are the same statues as in the room with the scales. That's what it is then. The Black Mirror, the Shade Portal. There's such an extraordinary attraction coming from it. I've got a persistent urge to look into it.
I don't know who or what they're supposed to represent. They're really imposing. It feels like this cavern has been here since the dawn of time.
I wouldn't know what I might. It goes one heck of a long way down. I can't see the bottom.
Adrian, have another look in Mordred's book. Maybe there's more there now.
I did not want him to die. I wanted to save him from his wretched fate. I wanted to make him my son again. My son, no bastard from the loins of my cursed brother. I have kept to the ritual exactly. Everything has worked well, only I was unable to bring a beat back to his heart. I tried everything, all in vain. From now on, I am quite alone. There is no one whom I can initiate. Marcus has taken everything from me, and now I shall take everything from him. I must make haste. My sword. First, I have to conclude the experiment with it. It appears that I have created a shade for it. That could mean that I can use it on the other side. If I succeed in crossing to the other side without dying, then I will rule both sides. Strange as the black stain on the blade, since its contact with the other side, the black is spreading inexorably. Rituals, experiments with a sword. What the hell was Mordred doing here?
It sounds like he was trying out an ancient druidic soul transfer ritual on his own son.
A soul transfer? He simply murdered him.
Does it give the procedure for the ritual in the book by any chance?
No. It's better for me to keep my hands off them. Whoa, a real witch. That's the tip of Mordred's sword. When Maria stood in the way, he murdered her. The tip broke off in the process and stuck in her chest. I wouldn't know what I...
Adrian's shade needs a weapon to conquer Mordred, but I'm afraid that an ordinary blade isn't going to do the job. Mordred's already dead, and you can't pass a weapon through the mirror just like that. Wait, Adrian, what was that just now in Mordred's book about his sword?
It says, strange as the black stain on the blade, since its contact with the other side, the black is spreading inexorably. In here, it appears that I have created a shade for it. That could mean that I could use it on the other side.
That's it. We need Mordred's sword.
Can't be all that difficult. Find a sword with a black stain. No idea how deep the water is here, but I'm guessing that we're a long way below the water level. Mordred's grave.
Mordred's remains. According to Mordred, he used the bones of the dead to bring their shades into this world and then keep them here. So, we could lure Mordred's shade out of Adrian by using his bones, just like he once did with that king. Adrian, we need Mordred's bones for the ritual. Can you do that?
Yeah? In one piece?
Just remember how they all go together, and then lay them on the altar in the same layout. but not yet. Being close to his bones could strengthen his presence inside you. Just let me think my plan through first.
As you like.
I could give Adrian something to really slow his heartbeat down, like a poison. Then, that would have to free Mordred's soul from Adrian's body. But then, Adrian's soul would be freed as well. And he'd die. It could be possible to resuscitate him with adrenaline. I will only have to give him a small shot into a vein soon after. At that time, Mordred wasn't in a position to do that. Nobody knew about adrenaline back then. Today, it's possible. It's dangerous for sure, but it's the only possibility I can see right now. I'd better not say anything about it to Adrian, for now. Okay, I think I know how we're going to do this.
I can't wait.
Right. The Black Mirror seems to be a portal into another world. A kind of shade world. If a human dies anywhere near the portal, then a shade is born on the other side of the mirror. At the same time, there are two possibilities for that person's soul. If they were of pure heart, their soul shade remains behind the Black Mirror, and their soul
Flies shade free up to heaven?
It's free, yes, but if that person was evil, then their soul is sucked from their shade into the mirror.
And then?
It's trapped. The souls in the mirror are slaves to the shades. They can become their instruments to be exploited.
Oh, that means that the shades are only evil if their soul was too.
Marcus was supposed to have battled his way through an army of shades before he killed his brother. Mordred has found out how to bring shades through the portal.
Okay, but Mordred's shade is already out. You can see that clearly from my reflection.
Correct. Therefore, his soul is more or less defenseless and alone behind the mirror, and is just waiting until it can come through.
And that might happen if I touch the mirror. Is that it?
We don't want to find out. Therefore, we can bind Mordred's shade to his mortal remains. Doing that stops the shade from getting in our way, at least. And then your shade, Adrian, can take over Mordred's soul. Or even better, destroy it.
My shade? I thought a shade only comes into being when somebody dies.
You do have to die.
Okay. And why didn't you let me jump from the roof then? That would have been more comfortable.
Then you would be irretrievably dead. Adrian, I will resuscitate you. If your body shuts down for a few minutes, your soul will... How can I say this? Be free. I know there are plenty of near-death experience reports, which confirm this. A soul shade will generate simultaneously on the other side of the mirror.
Won't that cause some kind of brain damage?
Don't worry, Adrian. The human brain can get by for a few minutes without a heartbeat. Your soul will return to your body just as soon as you have a heartbeat again. It's not the first time I've come across this. Near-death experiences are usually what has happened when people believe that God has spoken to them.
Okay, and then? Is my soul shade supposed to strangle Mordred?
No. We know that Mordred has made the sword usable on the other side. To put it better, the soul-like mirror reflection. You'll take it to the other side and be able to kill Mordred's soul with it. Shades are stronger there than they are here.
Have I got this right? Souls are strong here, and the soul shades are weak?
Exactly, and the other way around too. Which means that Mordred's soul is very weak on the other side.
Well, that sounds like there's some absurd logic to it. And what's the story with Mordred's shade then?
We'll keep it outside the mirror using the bones, so that it can't cross over to defend his soul. After that, the same thing ought to happen to the shade that happens to a soul when the body dies.
It'll go back into the mirror.
But there would still be a problem.
Yeah?
You need Mordred's sword, and apart from the broken tip. I don't know where that is.
In the book, there was something about a blackness that came out from the sword, spreading itself even further.
Of course. That's why Greg and Steve had problems with that. The tea room, the fungus. There was a constant problem there with the damage, apparently, coming from the extinguishing water after the fire.
Then the sword has to be there. I'll go and get
Stop. You're not going to lay a hand on any kind of sword, and especially not one of Mordred's. I'll get it. I need to get the book from the library anyway. One about poisons. These down here are somewhat out of date.
And what am I supposed to do in the meantime?
You could lay out Mordred's skeleton on the altar. See you soon.
I can never remember the arrangement of the bones. I hardly ever paid attention in biology. There are just too few pictures of you, Mordred. A photo of Mordred's remains. I'll just take the big bones. All the bones from the hands and feet have already turned to dust. I hope that's not gonna upset Mordred's soul shade. Mordred's mortal remains. More like the remains of his remains. I'll put the bones down first, so it's easier to sort them. Right, so let's see how good my anatomical knowledge is. Yep, that looks right. Now I just have to wait for Valentina.
With a little imagination, you can see the fungus mark is in the shape of a sword. That has to be the right place. The wall's only being held together by wallpaper. The rest of it is totally rotten. With a little the wall's only... One sword with a broken tip. Mordred's sword. Mordred's sword. Centuries old. The tip's broken off. After that, I'll go back. I've got the sword. Have you done it?
Mordred's skeleton's lying ready on the altar.
Good. Are the bones lying like they were before?
Head at the top, legs at the bottom. I reckon so. Have we got everything we need?
Looks like it. The poison's ready as well.
Is it gonna hurt?
Probably not. It paralyzes the heart muscle, but don't worry. I've got a syringe full of adrenaline here to bring you back to the land of the living.
Sounds like one of Phil's torture experiments, with me taking the Ralph role.
It'll be okay, Darren. Put your trust in God. Now, I'm going to get the poison, and then we can get started. Poison. It slows down the circulation and then the heart stops. Pain-free. I've had to do this all rather quickly, unfortunately. But the books in the library say it ought to work. This altar has so much blood on it. Good. You have to drink this.
Wait, if I don't manage to finish off Mordred, what happens then?
You have to win. It's your only chance. If you don't manage it, he'll kill you and his soul will take over your body.
How are you gonna know if I've done it? What I mean is, when will you resuscitate me?
I'm going to have to give you the adrenaline within 5 minutes at the latest, or else you'll die. Adrian, you have to do it.
All right. Valentina?
Yes.
See you later.
Yes. See you later, Adrian. Something's not right. Oh god, that's Mordred's soul. And that isn't Adrian's soul shade. I think he's done it. I need to get him back quickly, or else he'll be gone forever. Oh no, it's not working. Adrian! Adrian, come back! Thank God, you're alive.
What happened? I feel sort of different.
You've beaten Mordred, and the curse along with him. You've done it.
Really? The curse is finally broken?
Yes, the last of the Gordons has done it. Let's get out of this place and never come back. How are you getting on?
Pretty well, I think. I'm done with the main points. Now I just have to get everything across into the Book of the Guardians. Do you want to have a look for yourself?
If I may.
Here, I'm not sure about this last point.
That's already a good beginning. When are you going to put it into the Book of the Guardians?
Not before I eat. Anyway, now I know what all those black balls were about.
I can't wait.
Mordred writes in his book that he had carried out a soul transfer ritual, but instead of all the bones, he had only used the skull and one black ball. The shade didn't go back into the mirror anymore after that, but always stayed close by the ball.
Then you can trap souls with these balls as well. To all intents and purposes, they can be thought of as the body, right?
It gets better. Here, with the help of the soul trapped in the ball, one can, to a certain extent, control the shade. He writes that he put a ball in his brother's bedchamber, under the bed, in the hope that the shade would rob his soul in the night. But that didn't work. He suggests that Marcus's soul was too pure for the shade. What do you think? Do you think there are still shades going around today, doing all their evil stuff?
I don't know. But if there are, then it's your job to stop them.